what the primary culprits are that's causing so much financial stress and economic anxiety all throughout America. And we walked away with some simple rules that you can apply to make sure that that's not your problem, and to also, more importantly, make sure that long term your family doesn't have that problem, right? One thing that I mentioned last night is that your estate plan is a love letter to your family. That your the wills and the trust that you put in place, that's your love letter to your family. So if you don't leave any of those things in place, and then and you know that the will and the trust is a love letter, and you don't even leave a letter at all, what does that say about your relationship with your family? I don't want to make anybody feel bad about that, but one thing that is really important to understand is that a lot of economic problems would disappear if we simply bought life insurance and really prepared for after we're gone. That requires a type of thinking. Everything starts psychologically. If you don't think like a wealth builder, then you'll never be one. So if you want to be a wealth builder, you got to think like a wealth builder. And wealth builders have a way of looking at the world. They have a way of making plans. They have a way of being prepared. And this is just the reality of it all. All right. So anyway, all right, so one of the things I was thinking about, oh, by the way, so if you want to get the recording of last night, you can actually get it for 29 bucks and have lifetime access to that. And I'll give you the link to do that. Um, so give me 1 second here. I'm gonna find the link, and if you want to, and also I'll text it out later on today. So make sure you're on the text list. Text the word morning to the number 87948. Text morning to 87948, and you'll also get invited to this class into the private Zoom. All right. So I want to ask you all a question. This is something that was just on my mind, and I want to really address this because I think it's really interesting in terms of how it's playing out. How many of you feel or believe that Floyd Mayweather is just insanely rich? That he's got so much money that there's no chance that he's that his funds have been depleted, or that his wealth is actually going down, or that he's having financial problems. How many of y'all believe that? And again, I'm not telling you what to believe. I'd be curious to know what your thought process is on that. Because one thing that came up, and I put it on my Instagram. My Instagram is Dr. Boyce Finance. There's just leaking like lots and lots of somewhat credible statements from different people regarding whether or not Mayweather actually is doing as well as he's always claimed to do. And what can throw people off is that we falsely believe that if you've made a lot of money, then you can't go broke. That because you've made so much money, and then also because you've shown us so much money, because we love flashiness. We love our celebrities. We worship celebrities. Studies show this. Studies show Nielsen, I mentioned this yesterday. Nielsen actually did a study and found that black people are about 90% more likely than other races to buy products that are endorsed by celebrities. And I think it links back to self-esteem. I think that when white folks put a black person on TV, we look at that person as like a superhero, so they become almost unimpeachable. Like there's all everything that they do is brilliant, and they're the smartest person in the room. When unfortunately, you have a lot of celebrities that are pretty much paid to use their power to promote unhealthy ideas, like baby mamaism, drug addiction, criminal activity. A lot of black boys are in prison, not because a rapper made them commit a crime, but because their greatest influencers and role models were also criminals as well, and they thought that it was okay to go out and shoot somebody, shoot the ops. They always talk about the ops, right? And the culture feeds into this, and I think that anybody who doesn't believe that that is the case, I encourage you to go to a high school, and I want you to see how many of the kids are influenced by hip hop artists. How many of them dress like rappers? If you ask them who are your favorite people, they'll pick. They'll talk about Glorilla, or they'll talk about some rapper that they admire, whatever, right? So anyway, here's some stuff that I want to mention in terms of Mayweather that I just want you to think about. First off, he had this big fight. They do these exhibition fights. Apparently, they make big money where they get a legitimate boxer like Mayweather, and they'll have them fight against like some white boy. I think it was Logan Paul, and then Mike Tyson fought. Did Mike Tyson fight Logan Paul or Jake Paul? I can't remember. I guess it was Logan. I don't. I get them mixed up. They're two brothers. Anyway, so they have these like basically these WWE things. I don't watch none of it. I watch none of these fights. Because I remember the real Mike Tyson. I want to, that's who I want to see. And since he does not exist anymore, I will not watch any more Tyson fights. I thought that it was kind of a joke, but whatever. People, it's Netflix, so it wouldn't have cost me anything. But it would have cost me my time, and I didn't even want to invest my time in seeing that fight, to be honest with you, because it wasn't a fight, right? Same thing. Floyd Mayweather does these exhibition fights, whatever. So basically, Logan Paul, the guy that he fought, he's publicly stated that Mayweather did not pay him, that he didn't pay him for their 2021 match. 2021 was 4 years ago. Again, I don't know how recently he's made the statement though. But I haven't heard of a statement of him saying, "Hey, my bad. I got the money. The money's in the account now. Everything's good." And so that kind of raised my spidey senses. Well, why didn't he get paid? I think that's kind of interesting to me. And reports suggest that Paul is owed between 5 and 10 million. Mayweather responded. So it says here that Mayweather responded by stating that pay-per-view earnings take time to process, and he is still collecting payments from past fights. Now, the idea that Paul expected Mayweather to pay him, I'd be curious to know what's the contractual arrangement, right? Because it could be a scenario where, Mayweather's people approached him and said, "We want to make a deal. We'll make sure you get your money. We'll collect the money, and we will then pay you your money," right? If there's a third party that's holding the money, right? Like if there's a third party who says, "I'll collect all the money and then I'm gonna give you your cut and you your cut," then obviously that would be a mistake. That would be you're talking about the wrong person. But the idea that Logan mentions that Mayweather should have paid him speaks to the nature of the agreement. Do you get what I'm saying, right? Like I know some people would say, "Well, why is it Floyd's job to pay?" Because we love our celebrities. People will defend celebrities to the death. The celebrity could go out and murder 25 black people in broad daylight, and people will still make an excuse. So I get it. There are some people who, because of their love for Mayweather, and we tend to, because of the missing father in the black community, we really will embrace a rapper or a fight or an athlete as if they're like a father figure. So some guys get so mad when you even question any of this. But I don't care. I'm sorry. I got to be honest because I really care about you more than I care about your affection for a celebrity. But so just the fact that he even states publicly, "Where's my money, Floyd?" He didn't say like, "Where's my money, MGM?" Or the Trump organization never paid me my money because I think Trump used to do these boxing matches. He didn't say, "Where's my money, Don King?" He said, "Where's my money, Floyd?" And that to me was really interesting. Not to say that he couldn't be lying. Maybe he's making it all up. Maybe he's just trying to be a hater. But it says here that Mayweather then responded and he said that pay-per-view earnings take time to process. That sounds like, okay, we got the money, but we got to process all the money, right? Like we have some say in whether or not you're going to get your money, and that he's still collecting payments from past fights. I don't know what that means exactly. But then here's another thing that occurred. There was a lawsuit from some of Mayweather's investors. Mayweather and his manager Al Heyman were sued by investors who alleged that they were not reimbursed after investing in the Mayweather Paul fight. So once again, you have a second party, these investors who are claiming, "Hey, you owe us money." Again, they didn't sue Bank of America. They didn't sue HBO. They're suing Mayweather and the manager, which implies to me. Tell me, give me a yes if you can at least hear what I'm saying. Because I have to be really careful when I make these statements because there's so many people that just believe a celebrity can do no wrong and they're convinced that Mayweather has money. And the reason it's important for us to have this discussion is because you got to stop believing in the illusion. You got to stop believing that just because you call yourself Money Mayweather don't mean you got money forever. One of the things that I was always curious about was I said, how do you have so much money if you're throwing money away and throwing it in the air everywhere? If you're bragging about how much money you're giving away, that doesn't tell me that you're stacking wealth. That tells me that your wealth is being depleted. Do you follow what I'm saying? Because let's just be clear. Floyd Mayweather ain't the first athlete to walk around and pretty much say, I'm the money man. This is a long held tradition. There's lots of athletes going back even to the Muhammad Ali days. And I love Ali. I'm from Louisville. He's my greatest hero. But there's been athletes since forever that will go into the black community and into public and say, "Look at me, look at how much money I have. Look at I bought this. Mike Tyson bought that tiger for how many millions of dollars did he buy it for?" And guys in my generation were like, "Yeah, Mike Tyson got money. He can't never go broke. He got some." And then next thing you know, you're seeing the headlines: Mike Tyson bankrupt. Mike Tyson lost 300 million, right? Hey, so this happens all the time. And so for those who have sort of fallen for the illusion, I don't blame them. I mean, it happens every generation where you literally think that because a person has so much money they can't go broke. And that really speaks to the fact that maybe we have to learn a little bit more about how money actually works. MC Hammer, that's another guy from our generation. MC Hammer made ungodly amounts of money, but MC Hammer also had two or 300 people on his payroll. So he had to dance his ass off just to keep paying the bills, and then eventually you can't dance that much. Eventually it catches up with you, right? His overhead was ridiculous. Who was it? What was it? There was another person. Oh, I can't remember what it was. Anyway, and I got to go look into it, but I think even Stephen A. Smith might have addressed the issue, and I got to double check that though because I haven't seen that video. But Stephen A. He's controversial, but he does do his homework, so I'd be curious to get his assessment of it. But let me keep going here. So there's the lawsuit that says, according to the investors who sued Mayweather and Al Haymon, that this is all alleged, of course. It claims that instead of repaying the investors, the funds were redirected to other ventures, which is really kind of a slippery slope. You got to be real careful about that because you're flirting with federal charges at that point. Next, there is an interesting thing. How many of you saw the headline where there was this real estate venture that Mayweather was investing in, where he bought a bunch of these building units for hundreds of millions of dollars, and I saw a lot of headlines where people where we grab onto our black pride when we see a celebrity do something big, and we get excited and we say, look at what he's doing. He's building generational wealth by buying these buildings, right? And because again, we really kind of worship celebrities. It's really kind of strange, actually. And I saw that I was like, oh, great, he's a landlord. That's nice. And so, but what is also being reported out here, according to Business Insider did an investigation. And here's what Business Insider claims. They said in 2025, Mayweather announced a $402 million purchase of 62 apartment buildings in Manhattan. However, investigations revealed no property records confirming the sale. No property records. So I don't think they were looking for his name because maybe you don't want to put your name on everything. That makes sense. Maybe you're doing it through a shell company or something, right? But you can trace things. Like you can figure out, get some idea of who owns what. Sources indicate that Mayweather may have only acquired a minority stake with options to increase his ownership over time. So now that's still, I mean, that's still an investment, right? Not assuming he didn't invest at all, but this is something I've seen as well, where someone takes a tiny stake in a tiny role, and it's a celebrity because celebrities make their money by bragging. They make money from flash, not substance. The substance is a waste of time. It's the flash that's going to get you admiration from people that maybe don't understand how the economics works or whatever. So, and I've seen this on many, many, many occasions, and I'm gonna give you a couple examples of this. So basically, what they're saying is that rather than actually owning the asset, Mayweather, according to Business Insider, they're claiming that he didn't have a majority stake, so he's not the big boss. We like to make ourselves the big boss, and we like to flex like I'm the owner, I'm the big boss. He's the little boss. He got instead of the big gigantic stake, he got the little tiny minority stake. He owns a little piece of it, like a little small, like 5 or 2%, something like that, maybe 5%. And then also, instead of owning the asset, he has options on the asset. Now, we talk about options all the time. I think options are great. I own lots of options. I own stock options. I own a ton of stock options on Meta stock. But I don't actually own a lot of Meta stock. I own a little bit, but not a lot, right? But I own options on Meta stock, and my options are valuable. But owning the option on the stock is not the same as actually owning the stock. Dude, can we at least agree on that? Give me a yes if we can agree that having an option on an asset, owning the rights to something, isn't the same as actually owning the thing. If a Hollywood studio owns the rights to a movie script, that doesn't mean they actually own the script because there's still an owner. There's another owner, but you have rights to be the owner. You have the option, and that's okay. Options are good, right? Just because I have the option to date a girl, that don't make me her husband, right? Right? Just because I have the option, right? So those are two different things. We talk about options a lot. Options are cool. You should learn about options. So here's the thing, though. Let me give you another couple of examples that this reminded me of because I've been around for a couple of minutes. I got a little gray in my beard, so I've seen things. Um, it, the other what this reminded me of is how many of y'all remember when Jay-Z was on a billboard in New York Times and black people were super excited because he was being presented to the public as the owner of the New York or the New Jersey Nets. I think it was the Brooklyn Nets. Brooklyn, I'd say Brooklyn. They moved New Jersey to Brooklyn. Anybody remember that? How many of y'all remember that? When for a very long time the narrative was Jay-Z is he's owning we got a basketball team, y'all. We own it. We own an NBA team, y'all. Right? Anybody remember that? Um, and how many of y'all know what actually happened? Anybody remember what actually went down? Anybody remember? Raise your hand. I remember. I remember because I had a in 2013 I was in the car with Cornell West and we hung out for 6 hours that day. I love that man. And he told me the backstory behind this was his truth, his narrative, his experience. So here's what happened. So these Russian billionaires, these white boys wanted to come. They just spoke the white boys who speak Russian. They wanted to come in and buy the Brooklyn Nets, and they wanted to come in there and do everything that they had succeeded in doing, from what I understand. I don't know who owns the Nets now. Somebody else owns them now, though. And so here was the issue. The issue was that they wanted to get property from black people, and they wanted to come into a part of the community that had traditionally been inhabited by working class, hardworking people in Brooklyn who really invested in the community. So they were like, how are we going to do this? We're going to get resistance. And so what happened was Cornell West was one of the leaders that began to protest these people coming in and buying up, these communities and not getting the community's buy-in, not investing in the community in a way where the people of the community benefited from what was about to happen. So he was out doing the Cornell West thing. They were protesting and picketing and everything else. And so their plan was they said, okay, we need a mascot. We need a mascot, and we know black people listen to rappers. Rappers are like what preachers used to be during slavery. During slavery, the master used the preacher to spread misinformation to the black community. They would say, "Don't teach them how to read. Just tell them that the Bible says that they have to be a good slave, and they all respect you." So that's our way of keeping them under control. So now the rapper has become kind of what the preacher used to be, and the preachers are still out there, but the rapper is kind of the preacher for people that don't go to church. So they went to Jay and they said, "Okay, we're gonna make a deal with you. We're gonna make sure you get well paid. Now the community isn't gonna get paid, but you're gonna get paid, but we need to put you on a billboard. What we're going to do is we're going to exaggerate your ownership in this entity. Like we're going to put you up there like you the boss. You're going to be up there with your pimp hat on and your nice suit, and it's going to create artificial black pride, not real pride, artificial pride, because it's all a hoax, right? Because even though Jay was presented as the owner of this entity, from what I understand, and maybe I'm wrong, correct me if my numbers are wrong, but from what I recall, he owned about 1/16 of 1% of the team. That means if you took the whole team and you chopped it, now majority owner owns more than 50%. But in his case, if you take the whole team and you chop it into 1,600 pieces, 1/16 of 1%. You chop it into 1,600 pieces. He gets one tiny little piece. But because they probably correctly understood that most people don't understand how these things work. They don't have a lot of financial literacy. They were like, no, but we're going to put them on a billboard because people are going to think, well, if you're on a billboard, you must be rich. If you're on a billboard, then you must be the boss. Right? If you're the flashiest, loudest Negro in the room, then you must be the one who's the most successful. When people that understand real power know that most powerful people are quiet. Michael Roberts, a billionaire who came into this platform, he said, rich people are loud, wealthy people whisper. A man who really has power ain't got to go out and tell you how much power he's got because he don't really want to blow up his spot like that. He wants to move in silence like lasagna. The G's move in silence like lasagna. Y'all know that verse? Because the G's silent. It took me about 3 years to understand that. Lil Wayne's smart, a smart man. He needs therapy, but he's smart. So here's the thing, but because the culture, we always talk about the culture, makes you think the loudest man is the richest man. He must be wealthy because he Money Mayweather. He went to the jewelry store and spent 100,000 on a chain. That's a sucker's move. Jake the jeweler's laughing at you, brother. I'm sorry. They're making fun of you. They're like, what's wrong with these people? These people are weird. Me and Abraham and the rest of my community, we would never go into their neighborhood and drop $100,000 on a piece of jewelry, but they'll come into our space and do it every day of the week because they're trying to buy their self-esteem. Because inherently there's a void. They don't feel good about who they are, so they need us to sell them their self-esteem. So going back to Jay-Z, so Jay-Z's on the billboard. Everybody believes he's the big boss. And Cornel West told me that when that occurred, that's when black people stopped supporting their movement. He said we lost all support. It completely deflated because black people were basically getting into the age-old narrative of why are you trying to block a black man from making money? Why are you trying to mess up what a brother doing, brother? That ain't right, brother. And what people don't understand is that all money ain't good money. And everything that glitters ain't gold. Everything that's shiny ain't really a flex. It's not progress for the community. I can't think of any areas where, even if you look at hip hop as a collective, hip hop, all the loud athletes and rappers that we've had, you would think that we should have factories that that are hiring 100,000 people by now. I should be able to go back to Jay-Z's old neighborhood in the Marcy projects and find a bunch of millionaires and a bunch of middle class people whose lifestyles have improved dramatically because of his success. But I don't. I'm going to see the same poverty that I saw in every rap video that rappers make. They love to go back to their old hood and show how the people that built them are still poor, right? Because they somehow there's like this pride in showing that you came out the mud and came out the streets. And even though you're the only person doing well and you're standing next to some little kid in a dirty wife beater shirt and somebody else who's some man who's 45 years old who's healthy but he's still living in the streets, you think that that somehow gives you a credibility or some sort of positive imagery or something. I don't know what the hell you think it gives you, but to me it says that okay, so you're doing good, but your people ain't. You're doing good, but your community has not elevated from whatever little trinkets the white man has given you. So with that being said, I think that my 2 cents is that I think you have to really question the loud, flashy culture and ask yourself, is there substance underneath the flash? In addition to the Jay-Z, Money Mayweather examples, another one is Diddy. For many years, Diddy was, and they do this on purpose. They put Diddy on the covers of magazines to say to little black boys, hey, you want to be like this. This is what black excellence looks like. And that ain't what black excellence looks like. I knew this. This is something Diddy's been an R. Kelly type figure for a very long time. R. Kelly, same thing. I see R. Kelly in 2002. I was like, they're still supporting this guy, even though he looks like he might be molesting children and then videotaping it, and which is not that it makes it any worse or better. You shouldn't be touching kids, but this man needs help. This man is disturbed. He needs to be kept away from kids. But because we love his entertainment, people would just let that slide. Step in the name of love. Step in. I mean, the man's talented beyond belief, without question. But I said, Lord, how how much debauchery are you willing to overlook because somebody can sing? That's kind of strange to me. Again, but the hero worship, the celebrity worship. I told you, studies show that African Americans look up to celebrities more than anyone else. And I don't think that celebrities are the people to look up to. The people to look up to are your teachers, your hardworking football coaches who mentor young boys, your fathers and mothers who are working to keep their families together. The people to look up to are the counselors and social workers who are going up in the hood and really trying to fix things. The people to look up to is that hardworking entrepreneur who doesn't have the flashy business, but he's getting up every day, putting his overalls on and doing a hard day's work and trying to build something for his family. Those are the people that you should look up to. And those are the individuals that can lead you to a life of substance. They're not flashy. My father was not flashy. My father did not walk down the street and throw $100 bills in the air, but my father showed me what a man looked like. My mother was never flashy, but my mother was a woman who loved God. She loved her kids. She wanted to work for us to have a better life, and we built something. And we really built something. So with the Money Mayweather thing, it speaks to a lot of what I refer to in my book actually as financial immaturity. In my book, The Ten Commandments of Black Economic Power, I talk about this. Financial immaturity is where you really don't grow up. And this is incentivized. They incentivize the black male especially to not become a grown man. That literally, even at the age of 40, you're still running around, you're still Money Mayweather, spending money on ridiculous things. Whereas you have there's another fighter that he fought named Manny Pacquiao. Manny Pacquiao went back to his community and bought homes for hundreds and hundreds of people. Like he was doing and there are places, if you go to China, for example, and you engage in that flashy childlike behavior, they'll take you off of TV. They'll say, "What are you doing? You're not a man. You're not behaving like a man. You're behaving like a child. We don't have 40-year-old babies in this country. We're not allowing that." So if you go to China, you're not going to turn on the TV and see some guy, Ming Yang, who's running around calling like, "I'm Money Ming, y'all. I'm Money Ming, y'all. I'm Money Ming, y'all." Like they don't let you do that in China. They're like, get that sucker off TV. He's disrupting the development of our young children. He's making the women desire the wrong men, and he's making the men want to remain little boys. So you're stunting their growth. Okay. So anyway, so the other so when you look at Diddy or you look at Jay-Z or you look at and I'm not really out here trying to be directly critical of these guys. I'm not, and if any of them ever reached out, sometimes every now and then, a rapper will call me or something and want to talk about stuff. And I talk to anybody that will listen, that can use my help. I'm very happy to provide support. I did that with Kanye. I said, here's what I think you should do because you got all this money. You could do, here's some little things you could do that would literally transform the whole black community overnight. You could have more power than every HBCU in America if you deploy your resources in a specific way. Unfortunately, it's hard for people like me to get into the minds of these individuals because they've been so gassed up, I think, by the fame and the wealth, and you go around places and people just love you. Like there's something that the world is enamored by. They love the minstrel show. They really do. They love to see the black man get on stage, call himself a nigga, hold his testicles, and behave like a little boy, and they will pay you lots of money for that. And so what that does is that disconnects you from the black community. You look at black people like me and you say, why would I listen to you? You don't have as much money as me. In fact, I remember Kanye saying that. He didn't say it to me directly. He said, I've heard him say it about others. He said, why would I listen to a person who makes less money than me? So that tells me that you think that money is the only variable that determines the worth of a human being. Like literally, you would look at somebody like even somebody as extraordinary as Jesus and say, well, you ain't got no money. What kind of house you living in? Look at your shoes, Jesus. You don't know nothing, right? But obviously, to use that extreme example, we can't use money as the defining criteria. It's very dangerous, in fact, to use money as your criteria to determine which human beings are better than others. And I would argue that that's kind of a trauma response because we tend to respond to things based on what our deficiencies were. So if you grew up without money, if you grew up in a space where money was hard to come by, then you have to be really careful because you can get to the point where you have a financial addiction where you literally worship money and you worship people that have money. And people that know that you worship money and worship people that have money will use money to exploit you. For example, I've seen numerous occasions where a man that has money, he likes the gold digging woman because he knows like, okay, so if I just spend a couple $100s on you, I can get access to your womb. So after I go out and have sex with 3,000 other women and catch every STD in the book, you're going to give me free access to everything that you have because you don't understand that the womb of a black woman has infinite value. You don't see your worth. You're just happy that a millionaire is injecting his spirit and his body into yours, and you're not even thinking about the fact that I could be bringing AIDS into your house. Like a lot of these artists, they do have HIV and AIDS. They just don't, it's not publicized. But come on now, seriously, with the behavior that's going on there, are you kidding me? So long story short, I kind of think that we got to process these things a little bit more deeply. When it comes to Floyd Mayweather, if you circle back to that, I'm going to tell you this. I don't know if Mayweather is truly Money Mayweather or not. I can't speak to that. I have not seen his finances. I saw Kanye's finances, and he gave me access to everything. He does have money. He's not pretending. And I'm happy for him for that. What was disappointing for me with Kanye was that I felt like he didn't really understand that the community needs you and that there are things you could do if you get the right advisors around you that could really benefit the community. But what you have to learn is something that most athletes and entertainers are convinced to let go of, which is humility, right? To be Money Mayweather, Sometimes you may not have the humility that you need to actually listen to other people. But anybody, if you ever go listen to like a really good CEO or somebody like that, they understand that the first thing you do when you're trying to solve a problem is you talk to your team and you say, well, what do you think? What do you think? What do you think? When Barack Obama was president, and he's a very wise, I think Obama's a wise man. I didn't agree with all his politics, but he was thoughtful. He understood the power of his position and he used it in a way that I thought was methodical and careful. He didn't use it the way Trump just kind of makes these decisions and just doesn't care what people think. I think Obama, again, whether you like him or not, he was a smarter president than Trump, and he was also a more decent human being, in my opinion. And Obama was a person that I think would be a guy that would just say, like, okay, well, what do you think? What do you think? What do you think? I'm going to make the final decision, but I want to make sure I'm making the decision with full information so I can maximize this opportunity that's in front of me. So basically, here's the point. If you go back to this culture of flash over substance, it's very, very dangerous. It's very, very harmful because what you're really teaching young children is that you waste your time by trying to be a person of substance. Why would you go out and read 100 books when you can get on Instagram and just lie and pretend like you did it? Why would you go and actually do the work to become truly financially stable when you could just, take a picture with a whole bunch of money in front of you and everyone will assume that you're financially stable. No, nobody's asking, well, whose money is that? Like, why are you sitting there with all that money? Like, what are you doing with that money? Or how did you earn that money? Like, no one asks those questions. Those are the important questions to ask, not, how much cash do you have right now? Like that doesn't mean anything. So, but I can tell you, if you want hood credibility, all you got to do, I'm gonna show you all the picture. It's a really great picture. It's really interesting to look at. It's one of those Money Mayweather pictures. Let me show you the picture. It's a great picture. It's on my Instagram. My Instagram is Dr. Boyce Finance. So look at this picture. Look at this. He's literally like he's literally sitting there and he's got all these $100 bills or something like stacked in front of him as if like he's surprised that you're taking the picture. Like I was just sitting here. What was you doing today, man? Man, I was just sitting here counting my money, and the photographer came in, so I just humbly looked up and just took the picture because I didn't even expect him to be coming by that day, right? Like somebody just caught you in the middle of your typical daily activities, and you happen to just have. Probably what a few $100,000 like splattered across the table, assuming that that's all, those are all like real bills and that's not paper underneath. I assume it's real money, right? And so what you're doing there, right, is you're maintaining an image. That's the point. You're maintaining a brand, and your brand is Money Mayweather. I'm the guy that's made of money, because there are lots of people that really get inspired by that, and that to me just sort of speaks to, unfortunately, it's a little immature. It's a little silly. It's kind of ridiculous, but it works. It works in an immature culture. Hip hop culture, unfortunately, which overlaps a lot of sports culture, is not mature culture. It's not grown man culture. It's minstrel show, flashy, loud culture, where the flash overrides the substance. So you're going to get a lot more interest from certain people if you are the black man with the $100,000 diamond on your neck than you are if being the man who works 40 hours a week and wants to raise a good family and just be a good human being. And that's something that is just terrible and detrimental for us. And I think it's something that they deliberately did. I think that that's something that they wanted us to do because nobody, the king is never threatened by a clown. The king is not threatened by the clown. So if you consider the fact that most of the wealthy entertainers in the black community are men who either play a sport for a living, or they bust raps for a living, or they tell jokes for a living. None of these professions are the kinds of professions that truly move society forward. They're not. It's not like you're building rocket ships to try to go to Mars like Elon Musk, or building factories all around the United States like Jeff Bezos, or really doing or building educational institutions, universities and school systems, for the community. We will get excited because a guy built one school. And I think that's really interesting because I'm like, building one school, that's nice, but that's not really gonna move the needle very much. White Americans, they built systems. They have a whole university system. That means thousands of schools, at least hundreds of schools. So just the primitive level of thinking that we embrace, it's okay to be there. It's okay to be at that level. We all start at that level, right? But the question is, are you trying to grow? Are you really growing, or are you a need to grow? Are you Negroes need to grow? Are you a need to grow and just don't want to grow? Because what I do see, quite frankly, is things that stunt our growth. Um, I understand almost when I see a 20-year-old take a picture like that with Mayweather, but I don't understand when I see a 40-year-old taking that same picture. A 40-year-old taking that picture speaks to a person that unfortunately probably has deep insecurities, who really doesn't understand what true legacy really looks like. Maybe he knows how to be an extraordinary boxer, mechanically extraordinary boxer. I don't watch a lot of boxing, but I've read enough to know that this man was just amazing at what he did. Might have been the greatest pound for pound fighter of all time, but that's debatable. That's disputable. But at the same time, when you step out of that ring, the question is, what else is there? What substance is there that what can be built upon? What can the community build upon? Because we have enough boxers, we have enough athletes, we have enough rappers, we have an oversupply of rappers, boxers, and comedians. We're never gonna run out of those. But do we have enough electricians and plumbers? Do we have enough engineers? Do we have enough people that know how to build houses? Do we have enough people that know how to build a community? Or do we only have people that know how to entertain white people to make an extra dollar? That's not, there's nothing new about that. We've been doing that for over 100 years, well over 100 years. So really, with the Mayweather thing, one of the things I would mention is, there have been many examples. If you think that he's too rich to go broke, just know that there are so many examples of people that have had insane amounts of money who eventually went broke. We talked about Tyson, we talked about MC Hammer, Tony Braxton. She sold 70 million records. That was back when you really had to pay for your records. The records were like $10, $15 a piece. So don't think that a person can ever have so much money that they can't go broke. TLC declared bankruptcy, but DeBoer, I feel like with TLC, maybe I'm defending my cousin because she was in the group. I feel like with TLC, they just got signed to a bad contract. I think that the money was already redirected toward the record label in the first place. Same thing with New Edition. There's a member of New Edition that comes to class sometimes, and I feel like they just got screwed. And that really speaks to when we talk about financial consciousness, they were kind of exploited for a couple of reasons, in my opinion. One is young people, especially those that don't have parents that introduce them to financial literacy, they don't have a lot of financial awareness. And also, young people tend to be very impatient. So, young people aren't really thinking like investors. They're kind of living in the moment in many cases. And so, that means their financial consciousness is just kind of low. And I was explaining to you all that wealth transfers occur when they go from when very conscious aware people take advantage of unconscious unaware people. So what does that mean? What's awareness? What's consciousness? Consciousness, a couple of dimensions of it. One means I know what's going on. I have financial literacy because my mother and my father, Jewish children, have a lot of financial awareness because from the time they're little, they're going to synagogue, they're being taught about economics and business deals from the very beginning. That's how Clive Davis gets a piece of ownership in Whitney Houston, because he never grew up thinking he was going to be the best singer in the church. He grew up believing he was going to be the best lawyer at a Harvard law school. Okay, so consciousness, generally speaking, tends to be lower for people when they're younger. It shows up in the form of maybe also instant gratification. That's one sign of a lack of consciousness when you don't have delayed gratification. Also, your perspective. If your perspective is very short term as opposed to long term, that's low consciousness. If your financial literacy level is low versus high, that's a lack of consciousness. So you have a 19-year-old sitting there with who's trying to build their singing career, negotiating across the table with a 50-year-old who has a bigger perspective, more understanding of how the game is played, and more patience. They can wait it out because they've seen 1,000 artists just like you, right? Whereas for you, this is your one big break. So that negotiation is not going to go well, especially given that the 19-year-old in some cases doesn't have the community backing her up. And this is where the destruction of the black family has cost you trillions of dollars. This is yet one of probably 50 reasons we can name in this conversation, is that really, if you want to balance the playing field, that 19-year-old girl about to sign that record deal should have her 50-year-old father sitting next to her and her mother sitting on the other side of her, who know how the game is played. right? So mama and daddy, they know business. They understand things. Like we have a little entertainer in our house. She has two college professors for parents, and she's got she's got a biological dad who's a very smart guy, right? So she's got two daddies and a mama. And we're all smart and we know what the hell's happening. So her probability, pay attention now, listen, I hope you hear this. Her probability of being exploited in a business deal is much lower than a kid from the hood who's financially desperate, who's only thinking about being famous, who doesn't know anything about contracts. Do you follow what I'm saying? Do you get what I'm saying? Do you understand how this happens? And so we'll chalk it up to racism, and racism does play a part in this because we know who orchestrated the destruction of the black family, and they did that specifically because people who don't have backup are more vulnerable. It's like if you're in a gang and I isolate you from the other gang members, then it's easier for me to find you, surround you, and kick your ass and take all your money. Right? So we get isolated from our teammates. They tell you that family's not important, that you need to don't go talk to your daddy, don't go listen to your mama, go do what you want to do, and as long as you got money, everything's okay. And then you watch these kids get financially raped. They get financially screwed, right? Anyway, with that being said, um, there's ways to solve the problem, but to solve the problem, you got to want to solve the problem. And to solve the problem, you have to believe you can solve the problem. And to solve the problem, you have to commit to the idea that you can't spend your whole life just being a proud victim. We've learned to take pride in our victimhood. We take pride. You'd be amazed how many people want to argue me down when I say, well, black people, we can build, we can do this. I get argued down by people that want to sit around and blame the white man for every damn thing. And I'm sitting here like, I agree with you. He's a son of a bitch. Look at what he's sneaky. He done did a whole lot of stuff. But I'm like, now what we gonna do about it? Are we're just gonna complain and then we're gonna cry about it and then we're gonna go back to what we were doing before? Is that the plan? That's not gonna work. That's not gonna that's not gonna work. You have to grow up. You have to at some point acknowledge and say, yeah, it's not, y'all tell, I mean, there are times I confuse people because sometimes I'll go from sounding like the most radical black man in the world to being accused of being an Uncle Tom in the next sentence. And the reason this happens is because on one hand, I can name every single dastardly thing that they've done to us. I can tell you about how much distrust I have. I don't trust the school system. I'm like, educate your own kids, teach your own black history. Stop working for those people. What are you doing? Right. So that's the Malcolm X in me, right? That comes out 100%. But then there's the other side of me that's like, okay, now that we've established that you have no friends, let's solve a problem. And for some reason, somebody lied to you and told you that black people who want to solve problems are all a bunch of sellout Republicans. Well, because they have not committed to the victimhood. The victimhood only makes you a bigger victim. The reason they want you, see, these are what your little allies are doing. They need you to embrace victimhood so you will look at them as your superhero. You need to be a victim so that you will need them. Because the day you say, hey, I don't really need you to help me educate my kids. Well, wait, we can't make money in the school system anymore. If you take your child out of public school, we can't make money by hurting these children through the school system. The teachers union won't make as much money, right? When you tell them you don't need them anymore, I think they're very threatened by that. I really do. I think that even our allies, they love to see a black man broken. They love black men when we are dead, when we are, getting beat up or by the police, or when we're on drugs and weak and vulnerable. They don't love us when we stand up and say, I don't really need you. I'm okay. I'm all right. I got this. They don't want to hear all that. So my point is to say that, I think you got to stop thinking inside these political boxes. I think you got to figure out, okay, what do I need to do to make sure me and my people are good. And in order for you to really do that, it does require a shift in thinking for some of us where we have to commit to the idea that we have solutions and that we can implement them and that we don't need nobody's help at half the time. Don't get me wrong. If people want to help and you have true allies that truly support you becoming whatever it is you're trying to become, that's fine. There's nothing, this does not have to be an anti-white conversation. I'm not interested in any of that. But at the same time, though, I think that you have people that are your direct adversaries, and then you have people that are your friends, but they see themselves they see themselves almost like your parents, right? It's almost like they call it, what's it, paternalism? Is it paternalism the right word? It's the word where somebody's like, hey, look, you just be a victim. I'm gonna take care of you. And I say, no, I don't want to be a victim. I'm gonna take care of myself. But I can use your help. But I need, and I'll get in the car with you. But sometimes I'm gonna want to drive the car. Right? I'll ride with you to the venue, but maybe I want to ride in the car, drive the car, own the car. Right? So are you okay with that? If you're okay with me owning the car, where you're the passenger in a car that I'm driving, then we can drive together. But if you just need me to sit in the back while you're defining what the next move is going to be, that's not acceptable to me because everything that you've guided me and my community to do has not been to my benefit. It's certainly been to your benefit. I know that you've gotten rich making me into your victim because you get to parade me. You get to parade my victimhood and raise money and build businesses off of that and build institutions for yourselves. You want my child in your school because you want to run the school. You want to make money from the school. And you want to make money claiming to help my child. When the reality is at the end of the day, I probably need to be the one controlling this thing. I think all black children should be educated by black people, and I do not apologize for that. And if you don't know it, if you haven't seen it, come to Powernomics Wednesday. We read Powernomics books every with Dr. Claudia. We've read Powernomics, Black Labor, White Wealth, The Black History Reader. Now we're reading Dirty Little Secrets. And I swear to God, I swear to you, every time we have class, there is like three or four things that Dr. Anderson writes about in Black history that you never learned in school, stuff that they would never teach you in school. They don't teach you all the things that our people have done, and I think that's because their goal is to kind of hide you from your greatness so that you'll see yourself as a victim, right? You'll see yourself as a beneficiary of the graciousness and goodness of white liberals, as opposed to seeing yourself as an entity of your own, capable of making your own decisions, capable of building a community, capable of educating your kids, capable of moving yourself forward. So shout out to Dr. Anderson. I talked to him the other day. He told me to tell you hello, and we do this every Wednesday night. And actually, in fact, I'm thinking about try if I can. I'm thinking about doing Powernomics trainings more than one night a week because the last session we had was so powerful in terms of just what we were learning. I said, "Oh my God, I think we need to do this more often because part of the reason we struggle is I think that we never really learn how great we truly are, right? And so with that being said, let me go ahead and just finish up on this thing. I started off talking about the Mayweather stuff, and I'm sure people will say you just be hating. I just if somebody says something like that, I'm like, don't waste your time. I don't even listen to arguments. That's not an argument. You just be hating is not a it's not a thoughtful response. Like now, if you tell me what now if I'm wrong, tell me where I'm wrong. If my argument's flawed, break it down. I'm hearing all that, but if your response is you just be hating, what that does is that triggers in me like, okay, I get it now. You're celebrity worshiping, and you think that anybody who even critically analyzes what they see a celebrity do, is somebody that you have to attack, and because you're defending something, you're defending this thing you believe in, and I just think that's very dangerous because if you really go to if you want to understand one area where black wealth is being lost, trillions of dollars, and black families as well, go into a classroom full of black boys at a public school and ask those black boys, what do you plan to be when you grow up? Who do you look up to? And listen to those boys talk to each other for a while. And what you'll already see are semblances of them embracing certain cultural patterns that may not be healthy for them long term. They're not saying I want to grow up and I look forward to being a husband and a father and a leader in my community and building wealth for the next generation and building my community. No, you'll hear somebody say I want to be in the NBA. I want to be in the NFL. My favorite people are, rapper Lil Yachty or whatever. And then when you look at who their role models become, these are dysfunctional people. I know a lot of hip hop artists, and some of them I won't even talk to them. Some of them I don't even want to. I don't even want to be in that space. I'm like, this is your life is dangerous. You're gonna die. You're gonna get arrested. You're hurting people. Like this is not. I don't even want to be around any of this, right? So I would just say to you that you got to look at things for what they are. And what happens is that we think it's all okay because the person's making a lot of money, and that's where money becomes the great deceiver. Money can be the liberator, or money can be the devil. And money becomes the devil because the devil had you looking up to people like Diddy. While this man, there's a lot of evidence to say this man was raping people the whole time, and put poison, drugged up baby oil on people, putting drugging them and raping them. And you're looking at this person just 5 or 6 years ago. He ran a campaign called Vote or Die, and he was literally seen as one of the most important leaders in the entire black community. You need look no further than that to say that somebody's directing the ship in the wrong direction and they're doing it on purpose. That's what they're doing. So anyway, I'm done talking. Thank you guys for listening to this. I appreciate it, and I hope that you understand. Let me just make sure I'm clear on this. This is a financial class that we do, and I hope you understand the connection with the economics, right? I don't want it to sound like I'm gossiping and stuff like that. No, this is an economic conversation because your money mindset has everything to do with your financial outcomes. So if you embrace concepts like economic immaturity, like because I have money, I gotta flaunt it, throw it around, waste it to prove to people that I have money, well, then you're not gonna have money for very long. Most people that have lots of money tend to be on the conservative side. They tend to want to preserve what they have. They don't want everybody knowing how much money they have. If they get a good job and make good money, they're not going to go brag to everybody about how much money they make. And also that isn't just a matter of wealth protection, it's also a matter of personal maturity and self-esteem. If my self-esteem is intact, this is why the therapy is so important. The therapy matters because if you get the therapy and your self-esteem is real, like you truly love yourself, you truly have esteem, you're not pretending, you're not covering low self-esteem with extreme arrogance, like look at me. Instead, you have quiet resilience, quiet strength, and you're quietly building things of substance. You're quietly taking care of you, taking your daughter to school, quietly building that amazing business. You quietly made your last $3 or $4 million last year. You quietly are loving your black wife. You're quietly building a powerful legacy with your 6 children. That to me that's black power, y'all. That's what black power looks like. But if you want to find black power, you need to look no further than the black family. Look no further than black people who embrace intelligence. Look no further than black people who have a plan. And look no further than black people who have the discipline to execute that plan. That's black power because that's the type of substance that can't just be kicked away and flicked away. That's the kind of substance that's very resilient. So be resilient, be real. Go get your money, be successful, but be really successful. Don't just think that being loud and pretending to be successful is the same as actual success. This is where social media done messed up the heads of a lot of these young people. Like social media, it's a bunch of fake stuff. Go get the real. Okay. All right. So anyway, I'm done talking. Thank you guys for listening. I appreciate you. If you want to, I mentioned that I would give you a link. If you want to get a recording of the financial slumber party that we did last night, the training was called "The Secrets to Black Financial Security," and we had a blast. The slumber parties are like where we get together on a Zoom in the middle of the night and we just learned a financial topic. And so last night we did a deep dive on what financial security actually looks like, why most people don't have it, how to actually obtain it. And so what I'm gonna do is I'm in the chat. I will put the link where you can get a recording if that's something that you desire. And when you get it, there is a small fee attached. It's not much, but if you once you get it, you can share it with your family and use it for whatever purposes you need to use it for. So I'm not here to tell you what to do. Also, just a reminder, the Economic Elevation Summit is going to occur the weekend of May 9th in Miami. So if you want to join us at the summit, you can go to economicelevationsummit.com. That's economicelevationsummit.com, and we will be together in 3D building investment clubs and forming connections that will allow us to build wealth and to grow businesses and all that stuff. So that's pretty much. Oh, one more thing too. The Fly Nubian Money Club. You all saw Felice Britt, but she has a hyphenated name. I can't remember the other part of it. But anyway, she's a therapist, and she's doing a training today called "The Trauma in Your Transactions." And let me tell you, that was powerful. If you were here the other day, like she's so good at kind of doing something that we really care about in our Black Financial Therapy department, which is connecting trauma. Alicia's doing research on this, connecting trauma that you experienced as a child to your economic habits. That's one of the missing links too. Again, you talk about healing from the trauma. That's massive in terms of helping you to figure out those next steps in terms of wealth. It's very hard for a traumatized person to build wealth because everything you do is a trauma response. Like you spend money because it's like that retail therapy and all that stuff. Don't spend money. Retail therapy is an expensive way to numb yourself out of a tough situation. Getting actual real help is what actually will get you to the goal. Okay. So anyway, if you want to join that, here's the link. If you guys want to just pop right in, she's actually going to start at 11 o'clock Eastern. Right now it is 10:58 Eastern time. So I'm gonna go ahead and go, but there's the link if you want to go and join and register for that event. It's happening right now in the Fly Nubian Money Club. And so there we go. So anyway, have a good day, everybody. God bless you. Thank you so much for listening, and I will see you all tomorrow. Take care. And I'll leave this Zoom open for a minute so you can grab that link and go join join Miss Britt. I can't remember her other part of her name, but it's Felice Britt. But there's a name in the middle, but I don't have the whole name. So anyway, have a good day, everybody. I'll see you soon. Take care, and I'll leave that Zoom open for a minute so you can grab that link. I just put it in the chat. Talk to you guys later. Bye bye.